use your cue wedge. When you hear feedback on stage, the first and foremost thing to do, like I said, after you've reduced volume just slightly, just a slight pullback of volume is going to keep everything from any other feedback from happening. But then as you start to sneak it back in, you've got to watch closely and see if you can determine who's causing the feedback. And one way you can help yourself with that, again, is with that cue wedge. So you want to quickly scan your buses with the cue wedge. And you can do that, turn the cue wedge up loud, like I said, and quickly scan them, and you probably hear which one is the hotter and has the most likelihood of being zingy. So if you quickly scan those buses and you don't hear anything there, then the next stage is scan your solos, all your mic inputs themselves. And then I like having a pair of headphones even at Monitor World, because sometimes you just need to put the headphones on and get a little isolation and go through things one at a time. And then while you're doing that, of course, you're watching for that proximity effect from singers, or guys cupping the mics and dropping them in front, right? Stand in front of the wedge, and they'll sing and then do this, you know, and look at the audience. You know, so you got to keep your eyes peeled for that stuff, so that when it happens, I mean, again, there's no sense. A guy that's dropping his hand in front of a monitor, you're really better off being having your finger on a fader. So, and every time he does it, just pull the wedge down, because he's not singing, he won't notice, and you don't have to destroy your EQ curve. Whereas if you go over there and start trying to get rid of that feedback every time, just because he drops his mic every once in a while, you're going to kind of destroy the sound that's coming out of his mix. So it's easier to just kind of try and watch for the proximity effect and pull it back. And there's the difference in operating the console in fader mode or in total pre-syn mode. And so once you're really comfortable with operating a monitor console, it makes sense to operate it in fader mode, post-fader mode, instead of pre-fader mode. So watch for those mic cupping effects, and you know, every singer has a different footprint in the monitors too. You know, so one thing I always try to do with monitor setups is I try to make them all sound exactly the same with my voice. And then when the different performers come up, you're going to hear the nuances between them. Some guys are just going to have a higher pitch and a higher range. Some guys are going to be more bassy. And sometimes you have to like either soften somebody's mix slightly so it sounds more like the guy standing next to him, or sometimes you have to like warm it up a little bit. And you just can't be afraid to do that to make people more comfortable. And you make those choices though during setup, you know, not in the middle of the show. You know, before a song into, you know, oh, man, his voice would sound warmer. We'll just add a little. That's a bad thing to do. If you're going to make choices like that about sweetening and EQ, those choices have to be made during sound check while the band is rehearsing, practicing, and you're getting stuff set up. You don't want to make that change mid-set, because musicians, you will notice they'll hear their mix change, and as soon as you become a distraction, as soon as that becomes a distraction for them, you know, you're just kind of failing at your job, what you're there for, and that's to make that as transparent as possible. Watch for the hats that aren't worn at sound check, and then they show up and they got a big cowboy hat on. Could definitely be a problem. And feedback is never random. It's not a random event. It doesn't happen randomly. There will always be a cause. Somebody has accidentally moved a microphone into a different position, or moved a stage wedge or a side fill or something, or a microphone is, say, sagging now, it's no longer been being held in the correct position, and maybe it is drooped because of the mic clip, and now is pointing at the monitor, or who knows. But my point is, feedback isn't random. So if you hear feedback, keep working until you find it. Work until you find the source of it. Don't give up and say, well, I don't know where that came from. It was just random, because it's not possible. You got to find the source of it before it happens again.